Good evening. Hi, I'm Bob Pace, your host. And what we're talking about tonight is CPS and Get Back Our Children. And CPS stands for the Child Protection Services, a branch of um, social services. It's mandated by law to protect your kids from abuse and neglect and also family reunification. I really emphasize family reunification. There's maybe been hiccups that you may have had, but you should be able to reunify with your family. And they should not be taking your children so easy they are. But what we found out through the over the 100 people I've talked on the show, in my case, is that CPS is doing what is called child trafficking. Now, you may have heard about child trafficking. I live in Southern California, and where I live is the number one spot for child trafficking worldwide, where kids are taken off, young adults are taken off as servants and prostitutes on container ships right out of the port of Long Beach, port of LA. And it's the number one uh, city or any place in the world. There's more children are stolen from here than anywhere else. Well, CPS has done one step further. They do legal child trafficking under the ruse that your kids are so awful, were so battered by their parents, and put them in foster care immediately, trying to do that for the sole purpose of generating money. Once a case is open, they start receiving over $20,000 per child from the federal government and the state. And that's money that comes in there. Now, certainly, if you have a family of six, times 20,000, that's 120,000 a month, plus times, in my case, I was in CPS's hands for 3 years. They made a lot of money off me. It cost me money to defend myself, and it cost money, to hire an attorney. I lost my home, I lost part of my family, and it was really a bad, bad, bad scene. Um, so, with that being said, I don't want you all to worry because I'm a caring man, I'm a father, I'm a senior citizen. I really care about your cases and what has happened to you, and I want to help you. And we will get your kids home. That's the goal of my show, is to talk to people. Now, what I want you to do, that if you, I want you to listen to rule number one, and that's something that I kind of ignored myself. And rule number one is get an attorney. You want to get an attorney because, like open heart surgery, you need a professional doctor. Well, CPS is that bad that you need to get an attorney that can navigate and see through the webs and all the problems that CPS will throw at you. In my case, in the case I talk to people, they're very deceptive. They lie. They dupe the local police department to help them out with everything, with intimidation. They do something called alienation, where they alienate your child from you as a parent. They try to have child not talk to their parents and not discuss the case and so forth. And it's important. If there's an allegation made, they have 24 hours to investigate it. But there's two types of allegations that are made. One are made by professionals, and one are made by lay people. Lay people, in my case, was my in-laws. They reported things that were not true, and for 5 years I fought them. The professionals are school teachers, policemen, firemen, doctors. Anybody that works with children is a professional, and they have to report it by law. So when these allegations come in, CPS is going to bluntly open a case against you. And at that time, you need an attorney. Your open heart surgery has started, and you need someone that knows how to fight CPS and that has won cases against CPS, that has gotten children back. And the individual I want to tell you, his name is Vincent W. Davis. His law firm, Vincent W. Davis Associates, hosts this podcast. This podcast is every day, twice a day. It's found on Facebook, broadcast on YouTube, and we use an application called SteamYard. And that's how this presentation's done. Now, it's a live broadcast, podcast. Now, I told you that you need an attorney. That's rule number one, no matter what, because you're going to have to do things and you don't know what to say or do. And you suddenly got these weird people that supposedly are authoritarian on how to take care of a family. And you may have had hiccups, and those hiccups may get worse with with doing certain things with them. So you need to talk to an attorney right away. Well, we have this attorney named Vincent W. Davis, um, who will offer a consultation with you for 30 minutes for $49.99. $49.99. So, um, with that being said, is that you would call in to 888 That's the office number, and say that Bob Pace sent you, and that you want to have a 30-minute consultation with Mr. Davis, and that's $49.99. And with that being said, is that you will talk to him. He will tell you, go over the strategies of how to fight CPS and how to get your kids back. He's a trial attorney. He's won many cases against CPS, and he's also sued CPS for your constitutional rights. So he has done that, and he knows how to navigate. He's from Southern California, his office, and I'm broadcasting from Southern California. But he'll go to Northern California, he'll go to any of the states. He has a retainer fee that is a sliding scale based on the how long the case has been open, what the case is about, how complex is it, and then where the case is located. He can go to Arizona or Oklahoma. 2 weeks ago, he's in Oklahoma, so he does move around. So he can help people, but that consultation is worth every dime of it. $49.99. I wish I knew that when I first was trying to find an attorney. I made a mistake of trying to fight it on my own, and that was the worst mistake in my life. I lost my daughter because of that. I don't want any of your parents to try that. I know money's tight. I know you can't come up with money. I know what it is about, being homeless, living in a car. I had a beautiful home at one time. I lost that. I had to sell it to fight to get my family back. They will break you. The only thing that CPS has to offer is a lot of headaches. They will make you go through hurdles. They want to keep your children. They want to keep the case open. As long as the case is left open, the money ticker is clicking, and they're going to be hit with a lot of money. That's all they think about. They don't think about family reunification or being fair or decent to you all. Now, April, I'm glad to have you aboard. I guess it's pronounced April. Sorry. What city and state are you from, April? You can before I leave this with Vincent, make sure you call in and do that consultation. When you talk to Mr. Davis, say him that Bob Pace sent you. It's important he knows that. So another way you can interact with the show is do what April did. She just texts me a message. Um, I don't know what Roman brink means. Um, I know I've had countries call in. I've had Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, and Ghana. But what you need to tell me, April, that if you're going to text me is your name, which you've done, your city and state. If you're from another country, that's fine. I don't mind talking to people from other countries because PS is a worldwide problem. Protect our children is a worldwide problem. It's bad in a lot of countries, just as bad as it here in the United States. Also, if you could tell me a little about your case, what the allegations are, and if you have any children and how many children are involved, and then If you have a partner, a biological father, or you have a spouse or whatever there, so I can help you. You can answer questions. Also, besides typing in comments to me on the show, you can actually be live on the show as a guest. All you need to do is call my cell number, Bob Pace call in at 626 698 0990. That rings my phone, and what I'll do is I'll put you on speakerphone. I'll take off my headset, and everybody will be able to hear you. They won't see you, I won't see you, but you'll be able to participate in the show, and maybe there's some things you can help us with your case. So I extend a warm welcome to anybody that wants to call in and be a guest on my show tonight. Right now, I have about 50 minutes left of the show, so there's plenty of time to talk about anything about CPS. You know, what your case is about, how it can help you, when did it start, who was involved, and all the details. That way, depending on your city, I can sort of match what I've been hearing about from city to city. Now, if you don't feel like you want to um, call in and be a guest, you can still call in at that second office number, 888-888-6582, and tell them that Bob Pace sent you and that you want to sign up for one of my broadcasts. I'm on 14 times a week, 7 days a week. I'm on at 10 o'clock in the morning, Pacific Standard Time. I go to 11, and then again, I'm on at 7 o'clock at night to 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And you'll find that you just pick a Monday or a Tuesday or Wednesday, Friday, whatever morning or afternoon, and our producer, Grace, will help you with getting on the show, on the podcast. Now, with that being said, so if you want to talk, in the next couple of days, that'd be great. I love to hear from you. I love to have feedback on here. Each case is different, and I try my best because I'm a caring man, a caring father, and I really care about you guys with your case. This is wrong, what you're going through. And if you're on this show tonight, you care because you care about your children. You're trying to find out. Now, April, I still don't know what city or state you're from or what your question is, or if you want to make a comment. Some of you don't want to talk, and that's understandable. It was really hard um, um, to, in my case, to handle, especially when I lost my daughter. That was the saddest thing in my life. They stole my daughter. It wasn't anything my wife and I did, but they stole my daughter. They actually alienated her and brainwashed her to think that foster care people would be better than being with mom and dad. And that was wrong. And I can tell you more about that. So I've told you about how to be a guest on the show. I told you can be live. I've told you about texting. And I told you about rule number one, where you need to hire a attorney, and that's Mr. Davis. So those are real important because you're going to go through, after the allegations, you're going to have a visit. You may have a phone call. And then after that, you're going to have a safety meeting where they plan, if they take your kids, where to put your kids. With family members is the number one choice. If you're an Indian native children, the Indian tribe will take care of this matter. In 1979, the ICWA Act was passed, where it said that all Indian children, I'm talking about the Native American Indians, uh, if they are registered with a tribe or could be registered, then CPS must turn them over to the tribe for the tribe to help out. Now we have our second comment today. We have Lee Minna. What if we don't want to participate on the show, like telling from where we are, what was our cases? Does that mean we can't? No, you're welcome to be here. This show is not private. This show primarily talks about CPS cases, but I'd love to have you, Mina. And if you don't have a CPS case, that's fine. You can learn on it. I would like to know kind of like where you're at, your city and state, so that I have an idea of the people that call in. That's all I care about. So I'm glad, Lee, that you took the time to participate in the show. And again, if you see later on you want to ask a question, you can. I'm trying to hear the help people that have had their children taken by CPS and tell them what they can expect and how to fight CPS and get your children back. I'm not an attorney. You need an attorney. I told you about rule number one. Dealing with CPS is like open heart surgery. You need a professional doctor that knows how to do open heart surgery. It's so complex and so hard to go through CPS. There's forms like 388 petition. There's the Health and Welfare Code of 300B. There's so many codes and things that I can help you with, um, and tell you about that. There's a PSA agreement, which is a professional service agreement. And there's a lot of things because it's going to move kind of slowly. They have 45 days to do your case. Now, it seems like my case was 3 years, it wasn't 45 days. And part of it was because I was fighting them, trying to do it with emails and meetings and so forth. I should have got an attorney because I didn't know what I was doing because I never dealt with the government agency that's so corrupt. They don't have anybody accountable for their actions. No one monitors the amount of money they make or spend or whatever. And they're very deceitful. They use the local police so bad that they trick you into doing things you should not have done. Now, so far we got Lee and April tonight, and that's great. I'm glad to have you both. And again, you don't have to say anything but listen. That's fine. I just wanted to say it's open. This is an open podcast. Anybody's welcome to come in here. If you're going to be disruptive, though, I can block you. I don't like to, but I can. So it's important that everybody here is nice to each other, respectful to each other, and here to help each other. Because what these people are going through, what I went through, was a horrible experience in our life. Now, I went through it later in life. I'm in my golden years, supposedly. And, they really hurt me. They really, really did. I had a job, and that's what happened to me. In 2010, I had my career job, and at age 60, they laid me off. And why they laid me off was no more work. Well, I found out that the no more work was really a false number. It wasn't the company that laid me off. It's because of contracts I got in roads and heavy highway civil engineering, and I had amassed a lot of contracts, but the state of California was going bankrupt. So they wrote IOUs. Now, how can you pay your crews with IOUs? How can you work with IOUs? I tried to get a credit line to the banks, but they had fallen apart in 2007, giving out predatory loans. So, and I had a predatory loan. Oh boy, that's a whole nother issue of law is predatory loans. So many that were given out and overqualified, and it was terrible. It was really, 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 really terrible. So it hurt the bank industry. My retirement was hit. My 40 years of working retirement was hit by 50% because it was invested in when the stock market broke and things like that. It was really, really, really bad. It was a bad time period. But I would like to talk about rule number two because there's three rules. Now, rule number one is get an attorney. Rule number two is to get yourself a notebook to keep notes. Now, if you want to use your computer or you want to use your phone or an iPad or something like that, then that is fine. That is fine. You need somewhere that you can devote an area of workspace to your case because what's going to happen is you're going to get things that happen, incidents, and you need to keep track of them because you won't remember them 2 months from now or 6 months from now or 2 years from now. One guy said he has a case 8 years old from New York. So, you know, cases don't stay open. The problem is they have to act on things. Um, but they love to have a case closed because if they're adopted by foster care, they get to collect that money till they're 18. That's a lot of money, especially if they're 2 or 3. And they take advantage of parents that are going through hard times. Maybe you had, squabbling with your partner or your spouse, and you had domestic abuse, verbal abuse, things like that. Also, maybe you lost your job or don't have a job, or maybe you had some hard time with where you live, expenses, and so forth. I know how you are. It's very hard out there to be homeless. I was homeless for 4 months when I lost my house. And it was really, really, really hard. I mean, I lived in my 20-year-old RX-7, or was now it's 30 some years old, 30 some years old RX-7. But that's really hard to live in a sports car. I tell you, you sleep kind of, vertical. You don't sleep horizontal in a sports car. You try to put the seat back, but you're lucky if you get 45 degrees. But anyway, I know what it is like to be homeless. I know what it is to be broke. I've worked all my life. I've worked since I was 15. So I've worked already 59 years. And right now, at the present, I don't have a job. I did have another job, but again, they used my age and they said that you're too old. They didn't say it, but it was implied that. And it was not because of my performance or anything. They just said, well, we're out of your work. They were sending me all over California, away from my family down here in Southern California. So it was hard. But anyway, rule number 2 is that notebook. You want to put the date, the time of the incident. That's really important. And the people that are involved. Was there a social worker? Was there a policeman? Were there children involved? Were you involved? So you list the people. Then after that, you put what was the incident. The incident was a visit at the home, or they took my children away. Whatever the incident is, went to court or whatever like that. You need to write that down, and then you need to do a follow up with it in the outcome of the incident. It was dropped or it was not dropped. It's still open because you need to reference that, because right now as you gain each little notes, and you want to leave space between a couple lines between your notes. And so it's good and important to have a good note of what's happening. If you don't, I didn't. I thought I could remember things, but you won't remember things. It's really, 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 really hard. So um, anyway, um, lately the last couple of days, I have people that will call in and continue with their story. Well, we had one good story today. A woman went to her court today, and that was in Pennsylvania, and she still has her children. Still doing an investigation, but she went to court. So there are some good stories out there. CPS sometimes works, and she said her defense, or she paid for her attorney, and the attorney works. Another person used a public defender. Now, I'm not keen on them because they're not, they are lawyers, but they're young and they carry a caseload of 20 or more cases, and that's a lot for one person to handle that many cases. They won't devote all the time. Plus, I found out in my case that the courts were corrupt and that they were pals with the judge and the social worker attorneys. You see, what's going to happen is you're going to be tried in dependency court. And they have dependency court, which is a part of superior court, but it's called dependency court, and that's where they talk with the juveniles. Anybody under the age of 18 goes to dependency court. It's a juvenile, it's a family court. And I'm not talking about divorce court, I'm talking about dependency court, which deals with dependents and their kids. And it's really tragic. Some of the stories I've heard is that they're having their child, and CPS walks into the room, the birthing room, and steals the child. There are really, there are horror stories, and there's horror stories the other way around. A child in Ohio had left on vacation and left her 10-month-old child alone in one of those baby play seats that you bounce up and down. And then she came back, and of course, the child was dead. And the cause of death was dehydration and lack of food. She had been left alone in all her fecal and urine, and she had E. coli poison in the blood. I could go on, but it was a gross thing there. So CPS is necessary. It's important that we have them, but they need to be held accountable. They need to be held check. Now, the third rule I'm going to talk about is the rule that deals with talking to CPS. You should never talk to CPS because that can get people in a lot of trouble. I had one lady that said too much, and then she had an old case. She brought that up, and suddenly they had some old CPS matters. What you do with CPS, if you get called upon or a letter sent to them, you just say, uh, thank you. I'll have my attorney call you back. It's really important that you use the word attorney. They don't like parents with attorneys. They don't expect everybody to fight. They think you're dumb enough to take their attorney, their public defender, and that you're dumb enough to do stupid things. And they do take advantage of it. So, rule number three is that yes, no to social workers. You do not talk to them. You don't give them anything more than a yes, no answer. Also, they want to come into your home. That's a no no. They can't come in your home without your permission. They can get a court order, a warrant to come in your home, but it's got to be a court order signed by a judge on the day that warrant is going to be going to your home. And they got to list who they're investigating, what the allegations are, and what the address is. If none of that's on the warrant, it's not signed by a judge, you can just hold your ground and say, my attorney will get a hold of you. I'm not letting you in my home. You don't have to give them permission. Now, a lot of times they use a policeman to intimidate you, and policemen don't even know the right rule. They have to use a warrant anytime there is. The only time if it's severe, if there's gunfire going off and people are shooting each other, sure, the police are going to intervene or the social worker will come in because people are being shot at and could be killed. But unless they have a warrant, you don't have to let them in your home. You don't have to talk to them. You don't have to let police in your home. And you need to protect your castle because there's things in your home that may make your case worse. And you want your attorney to check out your home and talk to you first before you allow yourself to open up to the social workers. I just did the opposite. I was so friendly. I talked to them. I let them in my home. And early on, I had nothing to hide in my home. It wasn't until my parents were dying and I took my parents' belongings, put in my home, and suddenly I had clutter. And they were saying negligence because I had boxes stacked or had furniture stacked belonging to my parents. And I was trying to get them to family members. Anyway, I didn't have money for a storage unit for them, and I lived in a private community, and they didn't allow. I had them originally put on pallets in front of the garage with tarps over them, but they said you got to bring it in your yard or in your house. So I had some, put some in the garage and some on the front porch, some in the yard, and some in the house. But it's a lot of belongings. It's my family. My mom and dad were married over 50 some years, and they had a lot of accumulation of things. And so the rule of the wise is if that ever comes up with you, do not bring the stuff home. You need to have your home clutter free, because they can say negligence to your kids. You got to make sure your refrigerators are clean and there's food in the cupboards and refrigerators. You got to show them you can produce food. You got to show them utility bills that you pay utilities. I had allegations that I didn't pay the electricity, water, or whatever it was, and I had to show them my utility bills showing I did. I had allegations that kids didn't go to school. I had absent records and their grades that show they did go to school. They're getting A's and B's. All these allegations came from my in-laws. Their sole purpose was to alienate me and my wife from the kids so they could take our kids. They wanted our kids ever since we had our kids. They didn't show up at our wedding. That's how much the in-laws didn't like their daughter or like their. In fact, they did more damage than good. They said, "Oh, our daughter doesn't know how to take care of children." They just fed fuel to the fire. That was my problem in my situation. I should have got an attorney right away, but I didn't. So I've told you the three rules, and those are important. Those are really, really important. Um, it's getting on about a half an hour into the show. Again, I want to remind everybody, please text in a comment. Please list your name and the place you're from and the city, the state and city. And again, if you're from a foreign country, I welcome you here. But it's important. And then if you can, put in how many children is involved, what are your allegations, and if you're married or have just biological father involved, whatever it is, so I can help you. I just need the information. But if you don't want to, that's fine too. We have one person that said they just want to listen. They don't want to participate. April, sorry, has said only two words, Roman Bright. And I don't know what that means, Roman Brink. But anyway, I'd like to help you, April, and Lee, if you have anything to say. Any of you that want to, please text it in at the bottom of your YouTube or your Facebook. There's a comment section, and you can do that. Um, The other thing is too is if you want to be a guest on a show, all you do is call in 888-888-6582. Tell them that Bob Pace sent you, and then pick one of the days you can be on the show. I have 14 shows, 7 days a week, twice a day. So you get a lot to pick from. And if you don't want to call in, you can send an email to my producer, Grace at vincentwdavis.com, and send her a thing that you want to be on one of my shows, and she'll accommodate you and show you how to get on the show there. So I love to have you. More people is better because the variety is better and it's different there. It's really hard when I do all the talking and no one else wants to say anything. But those are the things there. Now, if you want to be live right now, and there's still time, there's still 30 minutes left of the show, you can call in at 626-698-0990, and you can talk live on the show. I'll put it on speaker, and you can talk what you want about your case. And if you don't have a case, you don't have, no one has to have a case in here. And so um, I welcome everybody. I'm here to help you, and I pretty much have, told you the three basic rules that help you out with CPS cases in there. So if you want to call in at 626-698-0990, and you can be live on there. There's like 29 minutes left of the show. Now, some things that I mentioned, the ICWA thing, the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1979, that's usually brought up at the safety planning meeting. If your kids are taken, you have a meeting where they talk about the safety, where the kids will live temporary while you're getting your things fixed. You may have some hiccups, you may have some false allegations, but the kids are going to be taken from you, and it's going to be temporary arrangement until you get them back. Now, the ICWA law that for the Native American Indians is a good thing because for many, many years, especially in the early, at the turn of the 19th century, Indian children were being abused and taken very easily from the Indian parents. So they made that act so that there be less abuse of CPS with the Indian children, so they would not be necessarily taken away. And the tribe would take over and return them to the families if they did things too that they could do. But it is a shame because so many of the Indian children were put into foster care, and CPS was using it too excessively, and so they did like that. Okay, let me see. I had a message come in for me. Okay, one moment, please. I just got a message from my producer. I think we had a guest scheduled, and I think she was giving me an update on the guest. Let me see. Guest says, whoops, wrong one there. Guest. Guest says she's still on the phone with IRS. Oh, good. That's a terrible agency. I've dealt with them. She thought the phone interview with the IRS wouldn't take that long. Well, I hope the IRS matter. This isn't a show about IRS, but they're bad news too. I hope that everything works out for there. So anyway, we did have a guest scheduled tonight, but they're busy at the moment. They may still come here because we have a good uh, 25 minutes left. We have 25 minutes left. So I've been talking about the ICWA, the Indian Welfare Child Act of 1979, which protects Indian children, and the tribe will work with the children and return them if there's some violation. But CPS was too much all the time putting them in foster care, and the Indian people were taking advantage of it. It's sad about the Native American Indians. They were the first immigrants to come to North America, and we have all these immigration issues going on now, and it's sad because our first immigrants have been so abused over the years, and their children take advantage of. They have these laws, but that comes at the safety meeting. Now, at the safety meeting, You will sit down with the social workers, and they will ask you for a list of family members that your kids could stay at. That's real important because you don't want them coming into group homes or foster care or shelters. I've had my kids there, and I know what a group home is. I know what foster care is. I know what shelters are, and so I've seen it all. So the idea is you put a list of people. Now, in my case, I had no family members where I lived. They were out of state, and my in-laws were one of the family members that I didn't know at the time were the ones making the complaints, unfounded complaints. They were trying to take advantage of a situation. I had no job, and they had heard that I had put everybody in a Spartan mode. And one thing we had to give up was our Disneyland passes or season passes, and they were expensive. If you have six of those, they're a lot of money. Boy, they're a lot of money, and I couldn't renew them. And I lost my job in August, and by January, when it time for renew, I just couldn't afford it. I think they were $2,500 a pop times six, so that's 12,000. I mean, that's a lot of money to go to Disneyland. And it started out nice. It was like $100 when it first started. When my kids were first born, it was cheap. It was a nice entertainment. But like everything else in this country, it's how they triple things. I know. I mean, gas is going up and up again. It dropped and then it's going up and up again. And it's really expensive, but not everywhere. So I really don't know what's causing the gas increase. The same thing with food. Last night before here, I stopped at the store and it was really expensive. Milk is now $4.49 a gallon. Orange juice is $7 a gallon. Bananas now are 70 cents a pound. The bread is now $2 or $3. I'm so shocked. I jumped to the chance when I see cereal on sale, but nothing. It seems there, and it's so hard because when you're involved in CPS, you got to make sure you have food for your family, and it's hard to do so. It really is really hard on limited budgets and so forth. Um, Let me see here. I wish someone would text me a comment what they'd like me to talk about, um, because I can talk about it. Because after you have your safety meeting and you plan where the kids be, let me tell you the difference between the different kinds of places. One place they can put in is a hotel, temporary with a CPS worker, and that is really expensive, and that's their last resort. Usually, like to put them in a shelter. They have a temporary shelter where my case was in Southern California, and the shelter happened to be right there at the prison yard for prisoners to go for a walk, so they could talk to the kids. And that is no way to have your children being protected. Also, outside in the yard were bees nests, beehives, and the kids were getting stung. That's where they took my children the first night. It was dirty, overcrowded, and when we visited them that night, it was the terrible thing. Our children were shocked, and they wanted to come home so badly. And that was the trauma. You see, studies have shown the kids do best with their parents, not with social workers, group homes, or shelters. It's really, 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 really bad. So, a shelter in a hotel is okay, I guess. I had not really talked to too many people. A few people told me to stay in a shelter. I'm not shelter. I'm sorry, a hotel or a motel there. But a shelter is definitely overcrowded. Where we are in Southern California, have one there, and the group home was the next thing my kids experienced, and that's where they're in a home run by Boys Town. Boys Town had come out here to California and thought they could run the Child Protection Services homes. They have made some homes and for group homes, and they want to be administered. And uh, Boys Town thought they'd be great and bid really low, and the other company that had been there for a long time lost it the first time around, and so they knew what it cost to take care of the kids, and Boys Town tried to cut corners. The problem with Boys Town that I found out is that Boys Town is set up for kids that don't have parents. When you have parents that care or that want to do programs or get the better there, You don't need a boys' town. And the person that ran the boys' town, the worker at the house, was a mom and a guy, very young. She was pregnant and they had one small child that could barely walk. So they have already two children to deal with, and they have another six. So that was six plus two is eight children and two adults. That's 10 people in that house. And it's a lot of work to take care of kids. You know that. So that group home, they were taught not to love their parents and stand at attention with their hands to the side, not to say anything. My son was um, abused because he wasn't abused, but he was drinking orange juice, and they said, "Nope, you can only have one glass." My other son tried to do his homework. He was going to a private high school. He's an engineer, and he was in that STEM program where you take a science class, a technology class, an engineering class, a math class. So you had to study at night, and they said lights out at 9 o'clock at night, and he would try to sleep. I mean, you try to study underneath the covers because it was so bad. So, um, oh boy. Um, the group home also had a point system, and my kids hated that because they'd lose their points so bad. It was like a lot of points, and they could turn their points in for money. And the kids learned the wrong way about what money is all about. And they were trying to brainwash our kids so bad in a group home. That's terrible. At first, our kids were put in with a family member and a spouse, but they thought it was going to be over in 48 days. It wasn't. And after 2 months, they had to bail. They said it was too much taking care of the kids. You see, kids are a full time job out there. And you parents do a lot of marvelous work taking care of them. Sometimes it's hard, but when you have your kids in different levels, it really makes it hard. We had one child in elementary school, one in junior high, and one in high school. So that's three different levels. That involved three different transportations. We always picked up our kids and dropped them off. We want to make sure they're safe. We're in the highest area for child abduction, and we didn't want to have that chance of them being abducted off the street. It's worse enough they have illegal child trafficking, and then you have this agency, Child Protection Services here, do the same thing, illegal child trafficking. They make it sound like it's so horrible what you're doing that it's necessary for the child to come out of the home. I mean, the child's got to be in danger in the home. I mean, if there's no food in the home, that's one thing. But they took our kids wrong. It was wrong, and it's so open to a lawsuit against them. And if I had the money, they've been sued a long time ago. It takes money to do a lawsuit, and most lawyers won't touch it. Most lawyers won't touch it. So it is kind of a thing there. But the group home was no good. Then they took my son and daughter, put them in foster care. They're trying to put my son in a high school and take him out of his private engineering classes and put him into a special private school that they had with barracks. And they said, well, it's great. We can teach him how to use a checkbook or how to open up a bank account. I said, my son already had that. He got that in junior high or middle school. So it was kind of a joke what they're talking about. He's taking calculus and they're talking about banking 101. I mean, he wants to be a robotic engineer. So that's why he's at the private school because the public schools didn't have the classes that he wanted. So that that group home was really a disaster, and my young son, the youngest son, was put in the foster care, and he got in trouble right away. He, was trying to follow religion. He takes the host by the priest, put it in his mouth, and the foster care person scolded him and says, "Oh, you can take by a lay person. You can put it in your hand. You don't have to." And my son was trying to follow his teaching, his Catholic faith, and it's so sad that CPS ruins children. My son is not the same. Neither of my sons are. and with their sister stolen, I mean stolen by CPS, brainwashed to think that they go. She at age 12 was said, "Do you know what? You can divorce your parents." And says, "Wouldn't you like these foster care parents? They can give you a Disneyland pass. I'm sorry your dad and mom can't afford it right now because of the job situation, but she's a Barbie girl in a Barbie world." And she heard that and she jumped the chance. Also, she sealed her birth certificate. Who would know about that at 12? And she changed her name and she sealed her birth certificate and she made like mom and dad didn't exist. That was the saddest thing. We showed that girl so much love. We showed all our kids love. We loved them dearly. We went to school and open house, back to school night, all their plays or performances. We were very involved in Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. We were involved in soccer with them, AYSO soccer, and so we were very involved with our kids. We took vacations to other countries, to other states. It just so happens that I lost my job through no fault of my own, and I had to do a Spartan lifestyle to get working again. I had to give up because I was spending my retirement, what I had left of it, to live on, and I finally had to sell my home. That was the saddest thing, to sell your home. But with that being said, I still got my sanity. I'm still trying to help out people learn about their case and so forth. Now, I mentioned something called a 388. I would like to talk about the 388. It's a petition, it's a very important petition. And what it does is that if you want to have a chance to talk to a judge, you can file a motion to introduce new evidence. Let's say you finished all your programs or all your classes, or you've been drug free for a year. Those are new information that you need to enter into court. So what you do is you file this petition, and the judge has to, within 30 days, have a hearing. You got to have a hearing about this. This is you way parents, and the attorneys should know about that, even public defenders, that it's a mechanism to alert the judge that you want to show them some new evidence. Maybe there's something you found that you're not guilty of and you can prove your case. But anyway, it's the way to get the court to recognize to change the plan, because after your safety meeting, they're going to have a dependency court hearing where they'll find you guilty or not guilty and what you need to do. This one here I'm talking about is a petition to tell the court that, hey, you want your children back. I've done all my programs, I've done all my classes, and I've been drug free for a year. Because, there's sometimes drugs involved and people make mistakes and do the drugs. But, children are not supposed to be around drugs right now. I mean, they're supposed to keep them from alcohol and tobacco till they're 21. So it depends on the states too. There may be other states that have different levels. I think some use lower alcohol, like 3.2 beer instead of the higher grade beer or whatever it is there. But it is a really hard situation when you go through all these things. And so that 388 is something that you need to write down. Don't forget about it. Ask your attorney if you're out there hiring an attorney. Also, ask, look it up. Google is a nice search engine, but whatever search engine you use, look it up. There's so much on the internet you can find about your case, especially on state things. States have a thing called, um, let me see. Every state, I think, has this. Um, Hold on a second. Okay. Oh, it sounds like we got a call. Hello? Hello? You, you're live. Whoops. Well, we had someone call in. I don't know who it was, but then they didn't say anything. They just heard my voice. Maybe they wanted to see if they could be in there. Um, Let me see here. Uh, I'll call them and see if they want to talk. It's area code 276. So if you're listening, I'm calling you right now to see if you want to talk.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system. 276201466 is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options. To leave a callback number, press 5.
Yeah, good evening. This is Bob Pace, the host on the podcast, the CPS Save Our Get Back Our Children, Fight CPS. You just called me, and I was returning the call, thinking that maybe my phone disconnected you or something like that. But if you want to talk on the show, you're perfectly welcome to. If you change your mind, that's fine too. My phone number is 626-698-0990. Please call me back. Thank you. Okay, we had someone call in, area code area code 276. So if any of you that are listening want to call me back, it's fine. If you don't, that's okay too. I know it's a hard thing to talk. It is so hard to talk. It's hard for me to go over this day after day, twice a day. I go through this to relive my past, and it's so hard. It's really hard when you lose your daughter. I mean, I know so many of you are lost your children, and it's sad. Like there's one gentleman that loves his family so much he lost his wife, but he's up in a tent in Alaska trying to protect his children, trying to take care of his children, and all he has is a very thin fabric, canvas fabric, to keep him warm from the elements. But he loves his family so much that he pitched the tent. And so I know you parents really care about your children. So many of your children take buses for transportation or long walks or hikes. And a lot of you are taken advantage of by the so called professionals. Now, these so called professionals, I found out my social worker was a young girl and she didn't have a college degree in social work. And she didn't have a license. They don't have license, they don't have certificates, and she was just newly hired, and she wasn't even mentored by anybody. She didn't have like 10 years of being mentored the how to do family reunification or how to work with children and so forth. Also, these social workers from hearing from other people say they're clinical psychiatrists. They're not clinical psychiatrists. You have to go to school for that. You have to get a license for that. And they say that they can tell when a parent has mental issues. They can prescribe drugs, which is wrong too. So these are from firsthand experience from me dealing with the CP agency, because at first I went to the top dog. I tried to fight it, and it went in one ear, went out the other ear, and his Taj Mahal, the place, is unnecessary. It doesn't need a place that fancy. It looked like the Emerald City and the Wizard of Oz, and that's what the color was, green. I can remember that, but it was so richly uh, with architectural and art and stuff like that. The kids need the money. The money should go to the kids, not to the coffers of CPS, not to the bonus of the social workers. My social worker would all the time say, "Oh, look at my new eyelashes. Look at my new makeup. Look at my new dress. I just got a BMW car." That's all I heard from her. She wasn't cured about us. She didn't know what to do about family reunification. She was all the time not for the parents, and that was a horrible experience to deal with an individual like that. Also, when they lied, she lied on the stand. I found out that the courtroom, the dependency courtroom, had the wrong kind of judge in there. The judge was a judge. The background was in collisions, and and it was really, 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 really bad. about car accidents and how to do that and how to do this. Excuse me one second here, people. All right, I'm sorry if I lost any of you there, but I had to take care of a personal matter. It's a hard thing to be, but with these social workers being really anti this and anti that, it it was really sad. It was a sad state of affairs. Um, they uh, they don't support you. They don't follow up what they tell you. They promise you, and they drag on the case longer and longer, so that you have to pay money in there. So you have to pay money. So um, I have about 4 minutes left here, and I need to take care of my family too. They're chomping at the bits. So I know what it is to have commitments. But I really want to thank you all for listening to me for an hour. I hope I was able to help you with your CPS case, some ideas and so forth. Don't forget some of the things I covered you. Rule number one, get an attorney. Rule number two is your notebook, notes. And then rule number three is to say no and don't let them in your home, CPS workers. Those are the three rules. Again, we have an attorney that is really good with getting kids back. He knows the strategies. He can be reached for a consultation for $49.99. The phone number is 888-888-6582. Just tell them that Bob Pace sent you, that you want to schedule a 30-minute session with Mr. Davis, a 30-minute consultation visit. And then he can go over the strategies, and he can um, help you get your kids back. He knows it all, and you may want to retain him. He is so good. But it's very important that you get a attorney with him. Again, if you want to be on the show as a guest, you can do two ways. You can 888-888-6582. Call in, say you want to be on Bob Pace's show. Tell him I sent you, and then pick a time you want to be on. It's either morning or evening. And it's 7 days a week. Or you can email to Grace at VincentWDavis.com, and she'll help you with get you on the show. She's our producer there. And again, I have a number that's good during the show only, 626-698-0990, that takes you directly to my phone, and you can be a guest on the show that way too. So that's important there. So besides the attorney, take your good notes. To say no to both police and social workers. And I want you much success. Don't give up fighting for your kids. And I care about you as a person. And hopefully, I'll see you tomorrow morning on the show at 10 or 7 o'clock tomorrow night or one of the other days. Um, so I um, uh, hope that the new year is very successful and that you have much happiness. I care about you people. And as I say, don't give up. God bless y'all. And this is Bob Pace signing off.